Hey everyone! So, if you've ever pictured a dinosaur in your head, chances are you've also pictured a cycad, even if you didn't know its name. You know, those palm-like, rugged-looking plants? They just scream Jurassic. For ages, we've called them living fossils, but it turns out that simple label has been hiding a really incredible secret.
To really get your head around cycads, you have to think in, well, deep time. I mean, their ancestors were already ancient when the first dinosaurs showed up. During the whole Mesozoic era, cycads were just everywhere. They basically dominated the plant world, from steamy jungles to the chilly polar regions. This was, without a doubt, the age of cycads. For the longest time, the story was pretty simple. These plants found a winning design and just stuck with it. For hundreds of millions of years, they barely changed. But what if that's all wrong? What if their whole story isn't about just hanging on, but about pulling off one of the most spectacular comebacks in the history of life? Okay, so let's get right into this. We'll start with why we even call them living fossils in the first place. The whole idea is that they're basically evolutionary relics, right? Plants that are more or less frozen in time. And honestly, when you look at the evidence, you can totally see why that label stuck. I mean, look at this. On the left, you've got a fossilized cycad leaf from over 150 million years ago. And on the right, a leaf from a modern cycad you could go buy at a nursery today. The resemblance is just uncanny. It's like almost nothing has changed. And this is where their history just gets mind-bogglingly deep. Their family tree goes back almost 300 million years, branching off from these things called seed ferns. They hit their absolute peak during the age of dinosaurs. And then, and this is the big one, they survived the asteroid that wiped out all the non-avian dinosaurs. I mean, these things are the ultimate survivors. So for decades, that was the story we told ourselves, an ancient, tough plant that just kept on keeping on. But then recent genetic research came along and threw a massive wrench in the whole thing, completely rewriting the cycad's modern history. And here it is, the bombshell. While the family, the lineage, is super ancient, DNA evidence shows that almost all of the cycad species we see today are not. They exploded onto the scene in a sudden, global burst of evolution only about 12 million years ago. So no, the plants in your neighbor's garden never actually saw a dinosaur. In geological time, they're practically babies. So what's going on here is a pattern that scientists have this great name for, a broom and handle phylogeny. Just picture a broom. You've got this long, ancient, skinny handle. That's the few ancient lineages that somehow survived for millions of years. Then, right at the very end, there's the sudden explosion of new species, like the bristles on the broom. They're not living fossils. They're evolution's comeback kings. This completely flips the script, right? The question is no longer how did they stay the same for so long? The real question now is, how in the world did that ancient handle of the broom manage to hang on for dear life for so long, through all those mass extinctions, to even make that final burst possible? Well, the answers are found in some truly bizarre and brilliant adaptations. First off, let's talk about how they reproduce, because it is wild. It's this incredible bridge between primitive ferns that need water to reproduce and modern plants. The pollen tube doesn't just deliver the sperm. First, it grows into the female part like a little parasite, just sucking up nutrients. Then it bursts, creating a tiny fluid-filled chamber, an internal sea, where the largest sperm cells on the entire planet, covered in thousands of little swimming hairs, literally swim to fertilize the egg. It's amazing. Okay, so that's what's happening above ground. But below ground, there's another incredible secret. Cycads have these weird coral-looking roots that actually grow up against gravity towards the sunlight. And their whole purpose is to be little apartments for colonies of cyanobacteria. It's a fantastic deal. The cycad gives the bacteria a safe home, and in return, the bacteria pull nitrogen right out of the air and feed it to the plant. It's like having your own personal fertilizer factory built right in. So they've got this wild reproduction, these powerful partnerships. But maybe their greatest survival tool of all is that they decided to become one of the most poisonous things on the planet. They basically wage chemical warfare. Every single part of this plant, the roots, the leaves, and especially those big, tempting-looking seeds, is just jam-packed with potent neurotoxins. These compounds are a seriously effective defense. Basically, any animal that tries to make a meal out of a cycad is going to have a really, really bad day. This chemical armor has protected them for millions of years. But this chemical defense can have some really tragic and unforeseen consequences. Take the case of the Chamorro people on Guam. It all started with the neurotoxin BMAA in cycad seeds. Flying foxes would eat the seeds, and the toxin would build up and concentrate in their bodies. Then, when the Chamorro people ate the flying foxes, which were a local delicacy, they got this massively magnified dose of the poison. It led to an epidemic of a devastating neurodegenerative disease, a chilling example of how these ancient toxins can climb the food chain.
So, we've seen how cycads have used this brilliant toolkit to survive ice ages, asteroid impacts, and hungry dinosaurs. But the irony is just staggering, because after 300 million years, these masters of survival are now facing their greatest threat ever. And this is just a gut punch of a statistic. Cycads are, as a group, the single most threatened type of organism on Earth. A shocking 62% of all known species are facing extinction. The very traits that helped them survive for eons, growing slowly, living in very specific places, now make them incredibly vulnerable to things like habitat destruction and, believe it or not, illegal poaching for rich plant collectors. And nothing captures this tragedy more than the story of Encephalartos woody, nicknamed the world's loneliest plant. It's a species that is completely extinct in the wild. A single male plant was found in South Africa way back in 1895. A female has never, ever been found. So every single one of these plants you see in botanical gardens around the world today is just a clone, a genetic copy of that one lonely individual.
And that's really where this whole story leaves us. It's a story of incredible resilience, of stunning evolutionary comebacks. They outlasted the dinosaurs. They survived world-changing catastrophes for 300 million years. The only question left now is whether their long, epic story on this planet is going to end with us.